what do you make of this week for Kansas and these two losses?
Hey, hold on, man. Let's do something real quick. We have to give props to Mizzou for a big win at home in the Border War, which is one of the more underrated rivalries in college basketball. And Mr. Brightside blaring at the end with Tamar Bates doing a big-time interview with Fran Fraschilla. I thought that was awesome, but I have so much respect for Tamar Bates. That dude played in 32 games last year, all 32 that Mizzou had, and he just put his head down and he kept working and kept working and kept working. Now Mizzou's 8-1, and I incorrectly said that he was a sixth-year senior. I just feel like everybody who's older is a sixth-year senior at this point because that's just how college basketball is going. But man, he was awesome. 29 points and 5 steals, big-time stuff. And you would expect Kansas to be able to take care of the ball better than what they did today. But man, all the credit to Mizzou. Dennis Gates has rebounded nicely, and Kansas has got some things to figure out, but this was a big-time performance by Mizzou, whose only loss on the year was when Memphis was playing well at the beginning of the season, game numero uno. So big win for them. I think this is a program and confidence-building win for Mizzou, and this goes to a broader picture, gentlemen. Like the SEC this year, through the non-conference, has put together arguably the best non-conference slate that I've seen since covering the sport. Now, covering the sport and playing the sport's two separate things. I've left Europe in 2016, so that's fairly recent history. However, unbelievable top to bottom in the SEC. Mizzou gets a big win.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate you doing that, T.O. That was an incredibly noble thing for you to do, to focus on the winner. To focus on the winner. I appreciate you doing it. Tyler, this is loss number 2 for Kansas, though, in the same week. And obviously big favorites here. Road losses going to happen in college basketball. But this was a Kansas team, again, that enters the year ranked number 1. What's missing here? What's missing with these Jayhawks from what you've seen?
Well, in particular today, I think turnovers are an issue. If I look at the game today, it looks like they've turned the ball over 22 times. That's not going to win ball games. And I really felt like their guards struggled with pressure. That's one thing that Mizzou did really well today is they came out from the gates pressuring them, and KU just turned it over, and they couldn't find ways to get Dickinson the ball down low. It just seems like they really struggled putting Dickinson into scoring positions and getting him the ball, especially with Mizzou's pressure. And the one other thing I will say is Kansas has to get better production from their transfers. A.J. Storr, 1 for 7 from the field goals today, and then 0 from 3 from the three-point line. They've got to get better production from some of their transfers and some of these guys that they brought in. And they've got to figure out how they can get the ball to Dickinson down low, easier and in scoring positions, because he's a good passing big. When he takes his time and he's established down low, he can actually really pass it well from that position. But also I'm with T.O. on this as well. Mizzou is an underrated team. When I watched them today, I was surprised. Even Mark Mitchell, he attacked the basket. It just seems like all the attacks from Mizzou, they all had downhill attacks. All their guards were attacking the rim instead of settling for outside jump shots. And the other thing that Mizzou did is they had some big guys that really made it tough for Dickinson. They had a couple 7-footers come in there. The Gray kid, he was fighting for boards. And when you do that and you have guys of that size, it wears Hunter down and makes him, tired throughout the ball game. And so in the later stages of the game, you saw Dickinson pick up a lot of lackadaisical, frustrated fouls.
Another thing, too, is Hunter Dickinson, this is the first time he's seen like size. I mean, Ryan Kalkbrenner last game, Kansas loses. Creighton, he sees like size, struggled with that. He's not the most explosive guy. He's massive, not the most explosive guy. Today, Josh Gray, every bit as big and as physical, just not as talented offensively. Like, Josh Gray's a nice player. But I think this also goes to the length of Mizzou and how it bothered them. But it all comes down to if you're able to take care of the ball. Much like Tyler said, like, you give them 23 points off turnovers, that's a massive difference and a massive margin of error on an opponent's floor. Whenever you're away from home, you have to take care of the ball and do those little things to win, or else you're in trouble. And Kansas, let's be honest, a little bit of a rut here. If you're able to rebound fairly quickly, they got NC State coming in at home here soon. It's a game they should win. Brown, another get-right game. West Virginia after that, you start conference play, could get real interesting. But if you're going to hit a lull, I would venture to say that you want to hit a lull right before conference play starts. So when conference gets going, you can kind of find your rhythm again. Because right now, you win some games, especially they beat Furman by 1 billion. Everything's all well and good. They beat Duke before that, but that's not my point. I'm going to ignore that for a second. You lose a couple of games, you can find what you're doing incorrectly, and then you're going to be able to fix some of those things.
Yeah, last thing on Kansas here, T.O., before we get sort of the larger picture about who is going to be number one. And honestly, that conversation was going to happen regardless of what happened today because they lost on Wednesday against Creighton. But, KU comes in, number one in the country in the preseason. What are they sort of closer to in your mind? I mean, when if you're just going to sort of project this out, I mean, are they a 1 seed? Are they a 2 seed, 3? I mean, if you're just sort of evaluating and assessing what this team ultimately becomes by the end of the year, where do you sort of think their range lands?
They're still in that 1 to 2 margin. One thing that whenever you bring in so many shooters and perimeter-oriented players, they're not getting to the free throw line very much. And that's not consistent with what they've done in their program over the past X amount of years. Kansas gets to the free throw line largely because when you play at Fog Allen, you're getting to the free throw line. You're getting every call. You better win by 15 points to beat them by 1 there because they get to the free throw line. This year hasn't necessarily been the case. They're out of their field goals to free throw attempt to field goal attempt ratio, they're 361st. What? Kansas? What are we doing?
Yep.
So whenever you bring so many perimeter-oriented guys, you're going to shoot a lot of jump shots. That's been a little bit more the case this year. Then you throw in the fact that they're turning it over and not getting some of those easy buckets. That part's tough. But if I had to project out, I'd say they're still in that mix, guys. They're still super talented, and I have no doubt Bill Self's going to figure this out. I would say still they're in that 1, 2, maybe 3 range.